I'm sitting here with Vickie Hauff. Vickie, thank you, first of all, for taking some time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it. I understand that you're the treasurer and the clerk for Oxford Village. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
That's two jobs which ordinarily I think are separate, but here they're together because
Yes.
it's a village. You're new to this role. Tell me a bit, if you would, about how you jumped into this role. How did you decide to run for the opportunity to be the clerk and treasurer at Oxford Village, and what has it become since you got the job? What's surprising maybe about the job?
Okay. I started off in a township, and that was about 4.5 years ago before I started here, and that was in a deputy role, and it was a lot of elections, accounts payable. We did everything. We were the office managers there, and it's a smaller community, very rural. So I decided to see what opportunities there were, and I didn't apply for a lot of places. I looked for places that I thought would be a good fit for me for them.
Right.
So when they were hiring, I put my hat in the ring, and here I am.
You're in the ring.
So it is a little different being the treasurer and the clerk. I've done the clerk role, but I've never done the treasurer role. A lot of villages, because they're smaller, and they do combine those positions. So that's different, and so that's been a learning curve for me. So I'm going to take some classes that they offer through the state for treasurers and get certified. So I learn more about my role.
Excellent. To me, it's an interesting world because in our communities, the treasurers are responsible to take the monies in, keep them safe, and then spend them as is directed.
Yes.
So how do you decide with the money that comes in, taxes and fees and such things like that, how do you decide where to put the money to wait and hopefully make some money on the money so that when you have to spend it, it's making the most use of the cash that the taxpayers bring you?
Yeah. Now, when I came into the role, there was some investments already made.
Sure.
And I looked at different opportunities and stuff. I try to find the best investment to make more money for the village.
Right.
So we can spend it on, streets, sidewalks, all that fun stuff. And so I've looked into that. I've talked to a lot of other treasurers within the state, and that's where I've gotten a lot of good advice on where to invest money and stuff like that. So I keep that safe. And the village manager is really the one that decides. He does the budget and decides where all the money goes after that.
Got it. Are the primary sources of money just from taxes, from the local taxes and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah. That's where most of the money comes for the village. We do get grants for certain things in that. We also are part of CBDG, which is like a HUD program for a lot of the lower income. So we do get money for that to help. We do food banks, emergency services, and stuff like that. And then they help us upgrade the village because it is an older building. That's how we got our sliding doors. We're going to get new sliding doors here. So when you come for the meetings, it's a better door and stuff like that. So.
And people don't think about those things. If someone in the village who maybe lived here a long time or was new, if they wanted to come in and find out more about what's going on here, could they just kind of walk in and ask questions?
Yeah. Absolutely, anytime. We're here Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. Anytime anybody has a question, they can come in and ask.
What's the responsibility of the village clerk?
So I am the record keeper. So all the records for all of the village, I have to maintain those, make sure they're safe. And I go through everything, what needs to be disposed of, but we keep that. I do all the FOIA requests. I'm in charge of like accounts payable, make sure that stuff gets paid and that. Sign her on checks. That's most of the job for the clerk.
People talk about FOIA, and it may be that there are folks who are watching our programs who aren't really sure what that means. Could you spend a minute telling us about what FOIA is all about?
So anytime you have any kind of records that the village would have and you want copies of it, whatever, you would fill out a form, get that to me, and then I could give you those copies of them, either email, come in, we make copies for you. Any kind of police reports, those would have to come through me as well. So I do get a lot of like construction companies, they want to know about permitting and stuff like that. And then also for code enforcement, we get a lot of FOIA requests for that.
So they come in, they fill out a form.
Or you can
and
go
then-
online on our website as well.
Or
Yep.
online, yep.
Yep.
So they can still walk in
Yes.
the door.
But you can still walk in the door and ask.
It's, in this day and age, I think there are people who actually still like to talk to people. Yep.
Yeah.
This is good.
Not always, but yes.
Yep, sure. Is the village changing? Are the demographics changing? So are there more young people in the village now, or do you expect that has happened or will happen? Or is it generally an older population?
I think there's more of a family
Okay.
dynamic in the village and stuff like that. I don't know a lot about all the different dynamics in the village, but for what I can see, there's a lot of families. Yeah.
Since you're the new kid in the block,
Yeah.
how has it been for you to walk into an organization that's pretty established with folks
Yes.
who have done these roles for a long time? How's it work to step into?
I had big shoes to fill.
Yep, you do.
Yep, Terry, she retired. It wasn't as hard as I had thought. Everyone's been very welcoming and very helpful. Any questions I've had and stuff like that. Going through and getting my own groove for things. It's been pretty good. So,
Right. So, what kind of questions do you typically get as a clerk about from the community? What sorts of things do people wonder about that they say, I need to know this or that, or any idea?
I don't know. I don't think I've had those questions yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, that's good.
Yeah, it's always good. So, but I do notary. I do that a lot too. So I do get those questions of if they can come in and get notarized, stuff notarized and that.
So if people need a notary, they could come into the offices here at the village.
Absolutely. Yep.
And get something notarized.
Yep.
Excellent. All right,
Yeah.
good. Any messages you would like to leave to the community before we let you go back to work about your role and about what it's like in this village office?
It's a much smaller office, and it's been really great. So my biggest thing is to let the community know that we are a small office. There's only 4 of us that are there every day. So be patient, but we are always here to answer questions. And taxes will go out in the summer.
Excellent. All right. Well, we appreciate very much getting a chance to know you a bit. Thank you for stepping
Thank
in.
you.
It's a great place to work, I'm sure.
I love it, yes.
All right. So for Vickie, this is Chuck saying stay tuned. Enjoy life in northern Oakland County. See you next time.
When a crisis hits, close to home and across the globe, nonprofits are on the front lines, ready to serve.
Keep coming.
The demand for charitable services has skyrocketed, and nonprofits are rising to meet the needs. Healing, nurturing, rescuing, honoring, protecting, caring, inspiring. The work of philanthropic organizations of all sizes, across all missions, has never been more important. And it's donors and volunteers like you who make all this possible. Thank you. Together, we change the world. The Nonprofit Alliance.
Well, hello again. Chuck Cameron here in one of my favorite spots in Oxford, the Oxford Community Library, with the director, Bryan Cloutier. Bryan, thank you for taking time today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, as always, to have you back here to the Oxford Public Library.
It is a joy to be here. If you haven't been here, golly, come by. Sit in the chair, sit by the fireplace, read a book, read a magazine, relax for a while, leave your phone in the car. It's a good place to not use your phone. Bryan, thanks for a minute. We like to find out what's going on in our communities so that the folks in Oxford and our township, Addison and their township, which use this library, can know what's up. So tell us what's happening in the world of libraries. We see some things that are on the political side that I don't typically dig into, but they could have an effect on the services of libraries in general and maybe ours specifically. Could you take a minute and walk us through what you know about the kind of the swirling question marks that are coming up regarding federal funding for various programs? Is that too vague a question?
No, it's fair. There are a lot of things that people in general don't realize in terms of the impact that federal funding has on local communities.
Right.
And in most cases, that's simply because of the fact that we don't always see or understand how that money funnels into the local communities, because it doesn't always come directly. But what we are witnessing right now with recent decision to make significant reductions, and in fact, right now temporarily close the Institute of Museums and Library Services, the IMLS, some people refer to it as,
Okay.
what impact that's going to have on Oxford. Most people will see that the direct level of funding that comes from IMLS to the state is, I think, roughly $8 million.
Okay.
Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but it's around $8 million. And some people would say, well, what impact does that state money have on Oxford Public Library? And it has a lot to do with how we operate here at Oxford Public Library, in that we see the services that we get from the state library, the Library of Michigan, significantly impacted by that reduction in funding.
What services might those include?
The most common service that most people are going to be familiar with or have heard of would be the Michigan Electronic Library, or MEL.
MEL.
Yep. And the other component that goes with that is the interlibrary loan service that we have called MELCAT. I mean, I want to make it very clear that if IMLS is eliminated, the Oxford Public Library is not going away.
Right.
Right? I don't want put up a red flag here and say the library as we know it will cease to exist.
Yeah.
That's not the case. But the level of library service that we're able to provide today, with the resource sharing that we have at a statewide level, is very much in jeopardy.
Yep.
And quite honestly, when you look at the budget cycles and how all of that works, we're not certain what October of this year is going to look like.
Understood.
Because a lot of this funding that we're talking about will cease to exist after September.
It seems to me, we're going to move on, but it seems to me like the folks out there ought to know that part of your job that we never see is wandering and trying to plan for things that are completely out of your control, that are done at a higher level, that can affect the system. So that's a piece of the library director's role that I wouldn't have thought of, but we appreciate you riding herd on that. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
For the sake of time, let me do this. It's the anniversary year for this library. We're thrilled about that, kind of fun stuff. What sort of activities do the folks who are watching need to know about? You promote stuff very well, but what do they need to know about that's coming up this anniversary year for the library?
Certainly. If you didn't know by now or hadn't gotten the memo, July 25th, 2025 is our official 100th anniversary. That is when, library services predate July 25, 2025, or 1925 rather, in our community. But the Oxford Public Library came to existence on that date.
Put the flag somewhere, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And so what that means for us is we have a year-long celebration that we have going. And it started with our joint venture with Puavic Pottery in Detroit to produce a commemorative 100th anniversary tile that will celebrate 100 years of library service in our community and be part of that history together. The exact details on the tile, I know 5 of them will be pulled out and go up for auction at the gala on July 25 at Indianwood. And then the remaining will be part of a fundraising effort to raise money for the endowment fund that secures future services for the library in our community, right? The other piece of that puzzle is if you're not able to make it to the gala at Indianwood, we also have a big family celebration that's planned for this summer. And the details of that are being worked out right now, and they will be available in the next newsletter that comes to everybody's home.
The famous newsletter?
Correct.
I'll point this to our viewers that if you are not aware of this, Well, goodness, there's information that Bryan and his team provide to us as citizens that is always well detailed in the newsletter, and my wife and I find it very useful as well. So thank the folks who put this together. I'm sure that it may be more than just you.
It is.
Thank the folks who put this together because it's really useful.
It's a team effort here.
Yep.
We have a lot of people that work behind the scenes to make that happen.
Sure.
But yes, the celebration, all of those details will be in this issue. So this issue will also be our summer reading edition.
Yep, right.
So aside from celebrating 100 years, we also have a lot more activity
Sure.
At the library during summer months for summer reading. And all of that information will be in that newsletter as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little thicker than it normally is, because there's going to be a lot going on here. So we're getting excited about that. We are excited about that.
As you should be.
And for me personally, to be part of the celebration of the 100th year here is something that I am very pleased and honored to be part of. Sure. Considering that I'm only the 5th head librarian that this community has had in 100 years. And to be here at this pivotal moment is a true honor in many ways.
It's pretty special. One other thing I've noticed, I enjoy this regularly. Next door, there's a book sale going on, even as we speak. Money is going and books are coming, and it's going to be a great thing. For the folks who don't know about this, give us a minute on the book sale and how revenues are generated and what the money's used for. And then secondly, for folks like me who have lots of books, how can people bring their books to the library and maybe get them sold next book sale if there's a time? And what do we need to know about those things? So give us a minute on that, please.
Sure. What I can tell you is the organization that runs that book sale for us is the Friends of the Oxford Public Library.
Yep.
Let me be clear, they are a separate 501c3. Mm-hmm. They are their own entity. We do not have governance over them. Yeah. But their sole existence through their nonprofit status is to support the ongoing efforts of the Oxford Public Library. Yeah. And they do that through various fundraisers. The one that you're talking about is the book sale. They have a couple of those, like 2 or 3 throughout the year. Right now there is a book sale going on in the community room. All of the funds that they raise from the sale of those books all come back to support programming for the library. Though the books that are in that sale are a small portion of them books that we've no longer deemed to be appropriate for the collection, and it was time to refresh and move those on to you as a resident of the community. But likewise too, there's also a large contingency of books in that collection that people like you may bring to us to donate. Our librarians go through those books ahead of time, and they determine if there's something appropriate to add to the collection, and they do.
Take out the $20 bill bookmarkers that somebody forgot to take out and sell them.
That occasionally does happen. We get family photos, we get birth certificates. You'd be surprised what we find in those books. Yep. And if at all possible, we try to make sure that gets back to the person who donated the material. But that being said, we do receive a large contingent of books that come in from our residents. But likewise, we also share amongst libraries too sometimes. Like I have an extra case of books that we didn't sell in our book sale, so would you like it at your book sale at the neighboring library? And we do that as well.
Spread the wealth.
We do.
That's good. So, this is, I love your lobby. Is this called a lobby or something else?
This is the atrium foyer.
Atrium foyer, that's sir.
Exactly.
Got it.
In fact, as we were talking a little bit about the 100th year anniversary, I'll just point out a couple of things that not a lot of people really realize. Inside the garden, on this wall, we have all of our plaques from all of our buildings over the years.
Excellent.
All the way predating 1925, the reading room. Yep. The library officially established, as I mentioned, in 1925, the Christian Slayton Library. That plaque, along with the sign that sits above the fireplace, is mounted in here. And all 3 of our buildings prior to this one, we kept our historical placards from those buildings, even though some of those buildings don't even exist anymore. Yep. And we brought them over to this library and placed them in the garden. This is the Judith A. Doublestein Perennial Garden. Judy Doublestein was the director here before me. She was the 4th head librarian this community had in its 100 years. That makes me, as I mentioned, 5.
Number 5. I'm glad, by the way, you pointed out the plaques, because I've been in here many times, and I have been fascinated enough with the books and the displays never to get my eyes out of the building, so thank you.
Yeah, it's a cool, as a public library, we're all about preserving history, right?
Exactly.
So that's one way that we did it. So there's a lot of pride that was taken when they built this building in this community and this history.
As it should be.
So, yeah.
Now, this pottery, is this part of the 100th anniversary celebration?
Well-
this, oh, look, these change from time to time. This is all relatively new, isn't it?
We do. I mean, we have exhibits in here regularly.
Right.
Sometimes, when we're fortunate enough, we'll bring in like a exhibit on the level of like the Smithsonian Institute. Other times we work with the local historical society here, the Northeast Oakland Historical Society, in the museum.
Yep.
And even there are times when we bring in other private collections as well. This is all Pulavic pottery that we have right now. It's wrapping up, actually. We're getting ready for the 100th anniversary, so we're going to be taking all of this down and shipping it out, and then bringing in all of our history related to the library.
Excellent.
And that will finish, that exhibit will be up probably sometime early June through the remainder of the year. And it'll be anything and everything related to the history of the library.
So people will have plenty of chances to come in and look around and just learn things that they didn't know about.
Exactly. But one of the reasons why we have the Pulavic pottery exhibit here, we have a very good working relationship with Pulavic Pottery in Detroit. We have the 100th anniversary commemorative tile that we're working with the pottery on. In fact, I can show you what it's going to look like if you'd like.
To. Please.
For our 100th anniversary from 1925-2025, we worked with Pulavic Pottery. They've created a design that's for us.
Excellent.
And they're going to produce 100 of those will be produced.
Okay.
The first 5 that they produce will be individually hand numbered. They will be limited edition. They will be framed.
Yeah.
They will go up for auction at the gala to raise money for the endowment fund.
Yep.
And then the remaining 95, we're working on a special project related to that will likewise raise money for the endowment fund. So
Remind me again the dates for the gala.
the gala will be at Indianwood Golf and Country Club on Friday, July 25
July 25.
of this year, 2025.
And I bet we'll have information about that in here.
In the next newsletter that'll be coming out probably the first or second week in May, that newsletter will have all of the information on the gala.
Excellent.
We will have limited seating for that event, obviously, because of our venue. But the really cool thing is Indianwood is also celebrating its 100th anniversary this year.
Nice connection.
So we made the nice connection there, and it's going to be a very special evening for the library, of course. We're really looking forward to that.
It's quite a venue.
It is. I think it was only fitting since we both, it's like there were so many coincidental things that came into play when we were putting this event together. And when we met with them, it just felt right. So we're going to be meeting there on the 25th of July.
So keep in touch. You know where to find good information in the library. If you folks don't know about this, they're right up in the front here, so check it out. I also noticed
They're also mailed to all of the households in our service area.
exactly, which helps me a lot when I forget. I also see that there's a conference room over here. This is something new, isn't it?
It is.
Can you tell us about that?
Certainly. When we went through the last phase of renovation, we renovated where our library of things is located. We also, or random stuff, we also renovated some staff workspace. We put in the backup generator that I mentioned.
Yep.
And in addition, we needed some additional small conference room meeting space for like small boards, homeowner association boards, different nonprofit boards, things of that nature. And so we had the space. It was behind a plexiglass wall before, and it was connected to the teen area. It was really underutilized. It was kind of wasted space for this facility. So what we decided to do is work with our architect and have the space rethink the envelope, if you will, And in the process of doing that, we added this space that is really beautiful. The only thing that's still outstanding in that room is the application on the wall that's for acoustics, but otherwise the room is reservable on our library website. And I want to also point out that the room is named after James or Jim Ostrander. Jim was our building superintendent when we opened this building in 1995, 94, 95, or actually probably 96 is when we opened the building. But we went through that whole building process. He was our building superintendent all through all of those years. I came on board in 2007. He was still our building superintendent then. And he worked with me for probably about 6 to 8 years before he retired. Phenomenal man. Family is from the Leonard area. Great guy. He was a pleasure to work with. And it's only fitting that we have this room in his honor.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Very secure.
So yeah, this is, you can probably sense, I don't know if the camera can, if the TV world can sense the echo in here, but there is a little bit of an echo, and the acoustical pattern on the wall, I think, will address that quite well.
Just to absorb some sound?
Not only will it absorb the sound, it will also, it's an appealing architectural thing as well. It's like an art installation that will really kind of take some of the dampening of that sound. So this conference room is bookable, as I mentioned, through our website, but you can also meet with Mary Ann Dorda, our executive assistant here, outside of my office to handle bookings. If you want to call, you can do that as well. They also know how to book it at the service desk, so if you need to book it on the fly, you can do that.
What would it cost to reserve the space?
There isn't a cost to reserve this space, but you must be either governmental, educational, or nonprofit in Oxford in order to be able to reserve this space. We do have the technology in this room as well, so we have the LCD television mounted to the wall so that you can Bluetooth from here, from your device up to there. We have a lot of library meetings in here as well. I mean, we have the executive boardroom, the Dwayne Salzwedel boardroom, where the board meets, but on occasion they like to come out here and meet here, and a lot of our committee meetings. But outside of all of that, we are juggling with a lot of public organizations too, and of course we give them this room if it's their room. We just, if it's open, we love to meet in here too. But it's a beautiful space, and we're very happy to have it.
One of the things I really like, Bryan, is the open look. I'm in here meeting, and you probably don't have that at your meetings, but some of my meetings have been boring from time to time, and I can watch people walk by. I can see people looking at the books. It's a good reminder that there's life outside of the meeting. So.
Well, absolutely. The library is a very lively space. Of course, during the pandemic, that changed drastically. But as we now emerge well out of the pandemic era, people are out and about. Groups are meeting again in person. And to be able to see the life that's been breathed back into this building, and the people and the activity and the programs and all the other things that go along with not just books, it's been a really great experience to be able to provide a space like this. And of course, it's a great experience for me to be able to come and work in a building so beautiful as this.
I would think so. Plus, I love, there's so much light. There's light from the outside, both sets of windows bringing outside lights.
It is, and you know, we could, not that we have time to do that today, but we could even do a discussion about the architecture of this building. It's very fascinating when you have the opportunity to learn about the layout and the design and the architectural behind the scenes stuff that people don't really know about the complexity of this building. It just, to some people who don't understand architecture or heating and cooling and all that stuff, it just seems rather simple, but there's nothing simple about this building at all.
Well, maybe we can look forward to a session just to sit down and have you walk us through some of the mysteries of the library, because we walk in and it seems like a functional place with some attractive features. And from what I'm hearing you say, there's a lot more behind the scenes, which is always the case.
Yeah.
Well, Bryan, I want to thank you again for taking time. I appreciate You have lots to do in your life other than sit with us, but on behalf of Oxford Community TV, we appreciate you and what your team does here, and we encourage you all to get to the library. It's a great place. Thank you, Bryan.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.